Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Over the years, New Yorkers have grown accustomed to headlines that nobody wants to read, like 4-year-old Miles Dobson killed by a caretaker in Manhattan, 20-month-old Cardale Williamson beaten to death in the Bronx, 3-year-old Jada Torres fatally beaten allegedly by her stepfather. That was in Brooklyn. As a result, the city's Administration for Children's Services has launched a new public awareness ad campaign urging all New Yorkers to look out for city kids. Joining me now to talk about the campaign and much more, we've got the Commissioner of the Administration for Children's Services, Gladys Carrion. Thank you for being here. This is a very tough subject. You've got a very tough agency to run, but this is sort of a new approach to an old tragedy.
It is. We want to make sure that everyone is responsible for taking care of our children, that it's just not a responsibility of the Administration for Children's Services. And we want to really heighten awareness. And so we have a 3-pronged campaign that we're doing, and the first phase of it is, if you see something, would you please say something? In all of these child fatalities and the Dobson child fatalities, somebody must have heard something. Somebody must have seen something. And so I want to urge everyone to really get involved in the life of a child.
No, in a case like that, do you want, you see something that's going on, you know, something's clearly not going well, if there's a family in serious distress and the child is perhaps in danger, do you want them to say something to ACS and to the city, or do you want them to say something to the parents involved?
Well, you know, it depends on the situation, right? All of us have to kind of use good common sense on when you intervene. So if you see a child in danger, a child in risk, you call the SCR. You know, you call the State Sentry, our hotline, and you know, make us aware of what's happening. But if it's short of that, we'd like you to find ways to be helpful, ways to get involved in helping a family that is under stress, a mom. You know, the first phase of it is if you hear something, if something's happening and you're concerned about it, pick up the phone and call, right? But if it doesn't rise to that level, then maybe there's something else. We want you to get involved. And so the second phase of the campaign is going to be, you know, the theme is, you know, these are New York City's kids, are our kids. And we want you to get involved. There are ways to mentor, to tutor, to volunteer, to be a coach, to help your neighbor if you see that, you know, she's overwhelmed or he's overwhelmed when taking care of children. Develop a relationship. You know, there are resources in the community, making sure that the families are aware of what resources are available.
And sometimes, I mean, my sense of it is sometimes people just need like a little respite, right? Like just say, look, let me watch the kid for the next couple of hours. You know, go take a nap, have a cup of coffee, you know, come back and, you know, we'll bring them.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be that call, right? But it's really extending a hand out and say, how can I help? How can I make a difference? And, you know, we really do feel that everybody can make a difference in the life of a child. And the third part of the campaign is really if a parent is stressed and feels overwhelmed, to be able to call and get help and be able to know where there is help in the community. So we have a campaign. Part of the campaign will be really creating that awareness. Call 311. There are resources out there to help, so that if you're overwhelmed, you don't have to deal with it by yourself. There are ways, there are places that you can go, things that you can do to really give you that respite.
Now, my sense is that, and I mean, I've covered even some cases involving this, sometimes people don't want to call because they think your agency is going to come down on them like a ton of bricks, that the child is going to be removed that night, that they're going to face, you know, termination of parental rights hearings and so forth, and that they'll have made more of a problem by calling and saying, things are getting away from me, you know, I need some help. How do you deal with that?
So we're really trying to change that frame, right? This is really, we want people to understand that we're there to help, and that they should not feel threatened that our first response is going to be removal of a child. That will not be our first response unless there's imminent danger. What we want them to be aware of, that there are resources, that there are programs in the community that we fund. And they can call 311, they can call our office, find out where these programs are. We have a series of preventive programs, agencies, community-based agencies that we fund that can help families deal with whatever stress and problem and issue that they may be facing that impacts their ability to take care of their child.
But I mean, at the moment of danger, right? I mean, it's too late at that point to sort of say, hey, do you need help with your rent? Do you need help with your groceries? You know, do you have some other kind of structural problems that we might be able to fix to help make your family healthier, at that moment of danger, there needs to be a different kind of an intervention, right?
That's absolutely true. And we assess each and every case, and it's an individual analysis. And really, even at the point where there is a call made, the response is not always that we remove the child. There is an assessment. If there is danger, imminent risk, yes, that is a response. But many, many times is really an ability to sit and assess with the family and identify what the needs are. And once we identify that the child is not at risk, then we start looking at it through a different lens. How do we help you? What do you need?
Sure.
You know, are you being evicted?
Right.
Did you lose your job?
Right.
Are you involved in domestic violence? What are the stressors in your life that we can be helpful with?
How much does addiction play a role in this, whether it's alcohol, drugs? Or...
It plays a big role.
Yeah.
It does. It plays a big role. Domestic violence, I think, is like #1. I mean, domestic violence and substance abuse are big factors.
What metrics are you going to use to track your success? I mean, it's one of the, you know, it's a difficult agency anyway with a heartbreaking mission in a lot of cases. One of the more tricky parts of it is that, you know, it's when something doesn't happen is when you succeed. How are you going to track
it? You know, one of the things that I'm trying to do differently, and it's something that the mayor very much supports, is really changing the frame of our work to really start looking at well-being and looking at well-being measures. You know, my system is very good looking at what I consider are important measures for a system as a whole. What's the length of time of a child in out-of-home care? You know, what's the rate of maltreatment? I want to start looking, and those things are important and we need to look at them, but I want to focus our agency in looking at measures of well-being. How are they doing? How is that child doing?
Right.
You know? Are they meeting their developmental milestones? Are they on third grade reading level, which is an important measure? You know, are they that transition from middle school and high school? Are we not losing them? You know, do they need tutoring? How are, you know, are they in after school sports and programs? I mean, we have to look at those wellness measures. You know, I think one of the great things that we've done in the city, and I applaud that, and hopefully will continue, is that the number of children out of home care has dropped incredibly. I mean, I remember many, many years ago, it was 45,000 children in care. We have 11,100 children in care now. But for me, is where are those children? How are they faring? Where are they? And we don't look at that. You know, we don't have right now the ability to track them, but we know where they are, many of them. They're in the homeless system.
Well, I was going to ask you, there's a special category of kids that I'm very concerned about, and there's a 20,000 odd kids who are sleeping in shelters tonight.
Exactly.
Are they more at risk?
They're certainly more at risk, right? And, you know, the young people aging out of my foster care system, you know, where are they going? What's the pathway for them? And I want to make sure that the pathway for these young people are the same, you know, pathways that my children and your children have as options. I want them to be successful. I want them to be able to graduate from high school. I want them to be able to go to college or to be able to get the training they need to have a job that pays a livable wage. I want them to be able to engage in healthy, productive relationships. We shouldn't have these negative outcomes that we have for children that are in foster care. We need to do better by those children, and that's going to be our focus.
Okay, that's going to be the last word on that subject. I thank you for coming by to explain to people that this is everybody's job. This isn't just something you know, sort of hope the city can do it well. The kids are all of our responsibility. And please call 311 for more information on how to help a child, or call 911 if it's a real emergency. You can also log on to nyc.gov/helpkids. We're going to take a short break now, and coming up, we'll talk about the results of our exclusive new poll that looks at the race between Dominic Recchia and Michael Grimm. I'll break down the numbers with Siena College pollster Steve Greenberg. Later on tonight, we'll look at the week's top stories with the 4 members of our Friday Reporters Roundtable. Stay with us.